Shalom, I'm Doran Ellen Beldotan in Spartan, Israel. I'll make this video in English because there are many people outside of Israel who might benefit from what I'm about to say too, to understand. You might hear some gurgling in the background. It's a cooler, it's quite hot. I don't make a lot of talking videos lately because things have to occur before it'll make sense to people to understand what's going on. Molly Gambhir from the WION network, who I think is as lovely as she is capable, asked the question today: if Netanyahu had full knowledge of exactly what Hamas was going to do, how is he still the prime minister? It doesn't seem to make any sense at all, does it? There are many things that have happened, especially since October 7th, that haven't made any sense. If we look into it deeply, they will make sense. Benjamin Netanyahu has a mandate which he is carrying out meticulously. I don't like it one single bit, and I wish it didn't have to be done. But it is the mandate that the Jews themselves have given him, including those who consider themselves his opponents. When we enter the land of Israel as newly arrived, what is called Olim, those who have ascended, those who are ascending, we have to come in as supplicants. When King David writes, "And the meek will inherit the earth," that is exactly what he means. One must enter Israel as a meek supplicant who has experienced enough of the world outside of Israel to be good and sick and tired of it, to be well and duly broken by it. King David also says that a broken heart God doesn't reject. One has to come here as a supplicant with a broken heart, having experienced the cruelty that the world can dish out, and come here looking for refuge, to become one among those who have taken refuge in this land, the other meek people. And one has to be able to enter Israel such that their presence does not impede on anyone else's presence. They are not stepping on anyone's toes. They are not taking up too much room. They are at a point where their bodies have already become refined enough so that they don't present obstacles. One must enter Israel in this kind of a state and be ready to live in the Holy Land in peace, on terms which are commensurate with all those who have successfully ascended to the Holy Land and live together perpetually. in peace, in unbroken peace. To that purpose, one cannot enter the land of Israel with a bucket list or with ambitions or with conditions. One does not tell God that, oh yes, I will import my Babylonian idolatry. Oh yes, I will have wild parties on Simchat Torah, which is also Shabbat, in the middle of the desert. Oh yes, I will build a basilica. Oh yes, I will take over the land by force of my arms. Anyone who is entering Israel with any kind of a foreign attitude, which is the same thing as idolatry, foreign idolatry, is going to get mulched. And that is what is happening. Netanyahu has been given a mandate to dismantle that which has been built in this country on unholy foundations. He's a horror, but he's very efficient at what he does. And so long as what he is doing needs to be done, he will continue to do it, and that is why, for the time being, he is untouchable. He should, by all rights, have long since been sent home. There are provisions in the law which would have allowed that, and be put on trial for any number of offenses. He's not, because he is doing what has to be done. He is dismantling everything that never should have been built here. And when he's finished doing that, he will dismantle himself. The kingdom of David is an eternal kingdom. Anyone who thinks that David ever stopped being king and that his descendants ever stopped running his empire, which is the entire creation, anyone who thinks that what's being talked about was long ago and far away, anyone who thinks that there is any kind of discord in the house of David, or that any of them aren't absolutely purely righteous, having made themselves righteous after not being righteous, is very, very far afield from understanding Torah correctly. It is not the case that, as the rabbis say, well, for a while, yeah, it is kind of eternal-ish, but for a while, the kingdom of David might not be sitting on the throne, and while that's going on, you know, other people can kind of come in and, no. That's not the way it is at all. And those who have come in here with rabbinic heresy are now seeing their worlds disintegrating. With God's help, I said a long time ago that that was going to happen. If you look back at the videos that I made, with God's help, I said to you in advance of this that this was going to happen, and I adjured people to return in true repentance to the original path of Torah so that this wouldn't happen. That didn't happen, and so this war did. It is well known to both the Israeli government from the time of Ben-Gurion that the majority of the quote-unquote Palestinians are Jews who converted to or were converted to forcibly to Islam, but they are Jewish. And that includes a number of people who are in Hamas leadership and leadership in other Palestinian organizations. It includes Ismail Haniyeh, it includes Sinwar, whose name was originally Schneier. It includes members of Arabic organizations who were members of the Israeli Knesset. Please God, I'll leave a link to that, and you'll see for yourselves. Our government knows that, and a lot of the Palestinians know that. Certainly the leadership knows it. They know it about themselves. What is happening is that all of the heretical Jews, be they the rabbinical Orthodox, and I guess that would include the conservatives and the Reform who accept the Talmud, as well as those who call themselves Orthodox, all those who accept the Babylonian Talmud, are heretics. The secular Jews who worship Western materialism and inanity are heretics. The Muslims who are Jews and live a Muslim lifestyle are heretics. The old Christian communities who still have descendants living here are heretics, all of them, no less than the Karaim, no less than the Shabtaim, and they hate themselves. They can't express that self-hatred. What they do is they express it as mutual hatred. The very sight of a Jew performing some kind of heresy or pronouncing some kind of heresy enrages those who themselves are heretics. These people are completely incapable of living in peace, because peace among the Jews can only be happening if one is a Jew, is living according to the tradition of our holy progenitors, the judges, the prophets, and the house of David. If one is not living according to their tradition, one cannot live in peace. Neither can one live in unity. The Hebrew letter tet, the value of which is 419, is avutai, or avote, my fathers, or the fathers of, and it is also achdut, which means unity. One cannot live in unity either with one's inner self, which is the totality of the house of David. Each one contains the all. Neither can they live in peace with one another. So when someone who is a Muslim Jew sees Jews having a wild party on Simchat Torah, which this year was also on Shabbat, they are enraged. It's their own inner anger being projected onto the other heretics, a different kind of a heretic, that triggers them and they go wild. When some Jews, and it was thousands, snuck into Meron here on Lag BaOmer, they instantly triggered Lebanon to react, because there are many Muslim Jews living in Lebanon as well. So when those Jewish heretics saw those Jewish heretics, they hate one another because they hate themselves. And they project their hatred onto one another. That is what is going on here. So immediately Lebanon was triggered into launching drones and missiles and all kinds of things. One would ask, how is it that Hamas and Lebanon are issuing drones and they're getting under the radar? They're getting under the radar because Netanyahu is also a heretical Jew who hates himself, and he's letting it happen in order to punish or break the other heretical Jews. Netanyahu is in league with the rabbis, but secretly he's been filmed eating lobsters in hotel rooms in Europe, yeah? Or wherever it was. He doesn't love them. He doesn't love the rabbis. He doesn't respect the rabbis. He hates himself. They are using one another to dismantle one another. Netanyahu is still in power for the simple reason that all of the heretical Jews who hate themselves have given him a mandate to break them. One of two things will happen. They will either return to the true way of Torah, in which case Netanyahu will no longer be their head of government. They will come under the aegis of the kingdom of David, and they will live in a state of grace according to Torah in David's kingdom. This is the desired result. Or they'll just keep fighting each other perpetually. No one can win this. Hamas cannot defeat Israel. Israel cannot defeat Hamas. The Jews in Israel cannot run out the Christians. The religious Jews cannot run out the secular Jews. The secular Jews cannot run out the religious Jews, because they are all Jews, which means that they're all eternal. They can make eternity hell for one another, but they cannot once and for all put an end to one another. So either they will return to the true way, which by the way is a lot lighter and more normal and natural and frankly fun than the rabbinic way of doing all kinds of weird ceremonies, because the mitzvot are done in the normal flow of life, in the normal flow of a holy life. So you don't have to make up all kinds of stories about, yeah, the sack that I'm carrying on my back is filled with diamonds. A sack filled with diamonds can break your back just like a sack filled with rocks. So the actual way of keeping Torah is far more pleasant and light and natural and frankly beautiful. It is at once much more godly and much more material in a holy way than anything that the rabbis are doing. So either those who follow the Talmud, those who have been converted to Islam, those who have been converted to Christianity, and those who have been converted to Western materialism return to Torah, or they'll keep being at one another's throats, and the situation here will become more and more insane, more and more chaotic, more and more unbearable. May it be God's will that these people have mercy on themselves and return easily and in peace, so that there is no more suffering, no more need for any more suffering, to break the tough shells, the tough armor that's on them, that has accrued. You know, it's sort of like a calculus, like a hard shell that they've built around themselves. May it be God's will that they'll awaken from within, so that the shell won't have to be broken and they won't have to be exposed and made vulnerable. Thank you for listening.